I'm Ethan Carter, and until last night, I believed my wife, Sophia Carter, was a faithful partner and my one true love. Well, it turns out she is loyal, just not to me. For the past year, she's been having an affair and expects me to just accept it. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I clench my fists, swallowing my anger as her words from the previous night replayed in my mind. She had the audacity to claim that she loved him, but still loved me too. She even announced her plan to spend more time with him, including overnights, as if I didn't have a say in the matter. Oh, and the cherry on top? She mentioned that her lover is a divorce attorney and that he'd be representing her if I didn't comply. Supposedly, she was just helping him out. I'm not an idiot. I've seen enough legal dramas to know that this would be a massive conflict of interest, not to mention a one-way ticket to him getting disbarred. A bitter smile crept across my face, but quickly faded. I didn't even know who the guy was. No amount of grilling Sophia would get her to spill the beans, and torturing myself wasn't going to help either. I'll admit, for a fleeting second, I thought about revenge, hurting her in some way, but then I thought about our kids. They don't deserve that. She's their mother, no matter how terrible of a wife she's become. I try to think through my options. If I played by her rules, I'd be left footing the bill while she and her lover played house. Screw that. Then I remembered a story a buddy of mine told me. He'd gone through a divorce and shared his strategy over drinks one night. He had emptied all the joint accounts, opened new ones in his name, and left his ex high and dry. She managed to find a lawyer willing to take her case for free, but she still lost big. Sure, she got half the assets because of no-fault divorce laws, but no alimony. The main difference? He didn't have kids. I do. Sophia hadn't started bringing her lover to our house as far as I knew. She was probably going to his place. I decided to dig a little deeper and call my mother-in-law. Ethan, what's going on? Did you want to talk to the kids? She asked, her voice as warm and sweet as ever. I wondered if she had any clue her daughter was lying through her teeth. Probably not. Not much, Mom. Just curious. How many days a week do you usually watch the kids? I asked casually. Oh, 3 or 4 days a week. Usually from 8 to 5 while Sophia volunteers at the shelter and food bank, she replied cheerfully. Sophia was lying to her own parents. Unbelievable. Thanks, Mom, I said. I was just checking so I could plan a surprise for her next week. Don't tell her, okay? She chuckled. Don't worry, my lips are sealed. Thanks, Mom. Talk to you later, I said before hanging up. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. I wasn't completely bald yet, still had more hair than Bruce Willis, though the receding hairline was making its presence known. I grabbed my razor and shaved, then combed what hair I had left. My beer gut, though? Yeah, that had to go. Sophia was right about one thing. I'd let myself go. All those long hours, 60 a week, sometimes more, were for my kids, and I thought for Sophia. Now I love my kids more than anything, but her? Not anymore. I wasn't as vulnerable as she assumed. The first thing I did was cancel all our joint credit cards and order replacements in my name only. Then I contacted my bank manager and transferred every cent from our joint accounts into a new account solely in my name. I also canceled all our automatic payments. This wasn't cruelty, it was self-defense. Sophia had shown so much contempt for me, thinking I'd just roll over and let her walk all over me. Declaring war on me was her mistake. Her lawyer boyfriend probably coached her on what to say, but they both underestimated me. I might be a diesel mechanic, but I'm not dumb. With 4 years in Army CD under my belt, I could have been a cop or private investigator if I wanted. Engines are my passion, though, and now, as a certified diesel mechanic, I make decent money with loads of overtime. After a jog to clear my head and start tackling that gut, I called my boss and requested a couple of weeks off to handle a family emergency. He was supportive, which gave me the space I needed to fine-tune my plan. I showered, dressed, and hit the town to pick up some supplies. Winter was on the way, so I grabbed gloves, a black turtleneck, and a ski mask with no mouth hole. At a spy shop, I bought voice-activated recorders and a GPS tracker with extended battery life. This was just the beginning. What if there had been an emergency, Sophia? What if the kids needed you and couldn't reach you? What then? I asked, my voice carrying a mix of anger and disappointment. Sophia's face turned bright red, more from guilt than genuine outrage, though she tried to mask it with fury. "I can't believe you're blaming me for this," she shrieked. "No, Sophia, you did this to yourself. The moment you decided to sneak around with your little boyfriend, you betrayed me and this family," I said, keeping my tone calm but firm. "I miss the wife I thought I had, and the kids miss their mother. Sure, they love their grandparents, but it's you they want the most." That struck a nerve. For a moment, her defiance faltered, and she looked visibly shaken, though her pride wouldn't let her admit it. "They're fine, so I'm leaving after I shower," she snapped, recovering her icy demeanor. "And just remember, Ethan, if you try to divorce me, I'll make sure you end up with nothing." Thank God, I thought as she stormed off to the master bathroom. Her arrogance would be her downfall. The moment I heard the shower running, I grabbed the GPS tracker and one of the voice-activated recorders. Slipping out to her car, I planted the recorder under her seat and the GPS device under the passenger seat. The range on both devices was about 10 miles, so unless she went clear across town, I'd know where she was and what she was saying, whether on the phone or to herself. From the timing of her calls and arrivals, I already knew her lover lived nearby. His reckoning was coming, and soon. Back inside, I tested the receivers. The voice receiver went into my pocket, while the GPS tracker was stashed in my truck. Sophia came out of the bathroom minutes later, dressed to impress, her expression smug. "Sophia, I'm begging you, don't do this. Don't destroy our family like this," I said, letting my voice crack for added effect. Her expression softened slightly. "Ethan, you don't understand. I love you, but Ryan needs me." She gave me an apologetic smile, as if that made everything better. "No, Sophia. If you were truly sorry, you wouldn't go. You'd be here, faithful to your husband and your family," I replied, keeping my tone even. "You don't get it," she whined. "He needs me right now. I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll be all yours again." I pretended to relent, shaking my head with a sigh of resignation. "Fine, but I don't like this. It'll be a long time before I'm okay with it, Sophia." Her face lit up with a triumphant smile, which she quickly masked with a condescending one. "Don't worry, Ethan. I'll always love you. This is just temporary." Temporary, I thought to myself. Yes, it would be temporary, for her and Ryan both. As soon as she left, I grabbed my aluminum baseball bat, an old hunting knife, and my blowtorch. Grinning, I loaded them into my gym bag along with some black clothes and gear. Turning on the GPS receiver, I saw she was only a few miles away. I followed her at a safe distance, parking near the house where she'd pulled into the garage. She even had a garage door opener for his place. They might as well have been married already. Anger surged through me, but I forced myself to stay calm. I noted his license plate and jotted down the address in my notebook. Sophia and Ryan weren't going to see this coming. Dressed in my recon gear, I approached the house stealthily, avoiding any lights or cameras. The house was silent except for faint noises inside. Peeking into a window, my blood boiled at the sight. Ryan was lounging in a chair, smirking, while Sophia performed a seductive striptease for him. It took everything in me not to smash the window and break his skull with the bat. Instead, I listened carefully for any information. "That's it, baby. I love it when you tease me," Ryan purred. "Do you like this, honey?" Sophia giggled. "Oh, I love it, Sophia." "You're incredible," he replied. "Ryan Wilson." I finally had a name. Seething but focused, I left before I did something reckless. This wasn't the time for violence. Not yet. Ryan had knowingly seduced a married woman and destroyed my family, and I was going to make sure he paid dearly. Back in my truck, I shed my black gear and swapped it for casual clothes. On my laptop the next morning, I looked up Ryan Wilson's details. He was indeed a divorce attorney and a widower who'd lost his wife in a tragic accident years ago. At first, I almost felt pity for him, but he'd weaponized his grief, using it to justify seducing another man's wife. That pity quickly turned into resolve. Ryan had brought this on himself, and he was going to feel the full weight of his actions. I rented a plain, nondescript sedan and transferred my gym bag from the truck to the car. Parking a few houses down from Ryan's place, I took out my phone and called Sophia. Surprisingly, she picked up after the first ring. "Ethan, what's going on? Aren't you at work?" she asked, sounding curious. Yeah, just on a short break right now, I lied smoothly. I was wondering how long you were planning to let the kids stay with your parents? Until Monday. Why? She asked, her tone casual. Well, then you won't mind if my mom takes them for a bit. They're her grandkids too, and she's been missing them, I said, keeping my voice light and reasonable. It was getting easier to mask my resentment. Oh, I don't have a problem with that, she replied almost too quickly. Her quick agreement made me wary. Her tone lacked its usual resistance. Great. I'll have my mom pick them up shortly, I lied again. By the way, can I expect some of your loving at home tonight when I get off work? I asked, layering my voice with a hopeful tone. There was a long pause on her end. I knew immediately that she had muted her phone's microphone, probably to think or consult her lover. After what felt like an eternity, she finally spoke. I guess so. It's only fair after all. I told you I'd be all yours tonight, she said, her words laced with reluctance. Well, soon you won't have a choice, I thought to myself. Suddenly, her tone shifted, becoming lighter, even playful. Does this mean you're starting to see things my way? She asked. I forced myself to swallow the bile rising in my throat. Let's just say I'm leaning that way, but I do want equal time with you. That's not too much to ask, is it? I replied, carefully maintaining my act. Oh, Ethan, I'm so happy you're finally thinking clearly, she exclaimed, her voice filled with what she probably thought was victorious glee. She had no idea how clear my thinking really was. Let's not jump the gun now, sweetheart, I said, still playing the reluctant participant. We'll talk more tonight when you get home. But I want you all to myself this weekend. I've got something special planned for us. That sounds good, she said, her tone lifting further, as though she believed she was truly winning me over. Well, if you can pull away from him early, make sure you're showered and clean for me when I get home. I'll be leaving work a bit early tonight, so I can spend more time with you. I've missed you, babe, I said, even managing to sound convincing to myself. Don't worry, Ethan, I always clean up after being with him. I wouldn't disrespect you by giving you sloppy seconds, she said with a laugh. I knew she was lying, but I laughed along, playing my part. Well, good, because I plan to go down on you tonight, I said, keeping my tone light. I want you fresh and ready for me. Don't worry, honey. I'll be ready, she promised. I'll see you tonight, she added, ending the call. I slipped my phone back into my pocket and quickly changed in the back seat of the sedan, donning my recon gear, minus the ski mask and sunglasses for now. I slumped low in my seat, watching her place and waiting. Though I didn't think Sophia was clever enough to suspect she was being watched, I wasn't taking any chances. I started the car and moved it into the driveway of an abandoned house a few doors down from Ryan's. Adjusting the rearview mirror, I positioned myself to keep a clear view of his driveway and garage. I was prepared to wait for hours if I had to. To my surprise, Sophia left after only a few hours. She texted me to say she was heading home and would be fresh, clean, and waiting for me. I smiled grimly at the message. Then, I backed out of the driveway and followed her at a safe distance. True to her word, she drove straight to our house and pulled into the driveway about 10 minutes later. I continued driving past the house and headed back to Ryan's place. This wasn't over. Parking in the alley behind the houses, I grabbed my gym bag and slipped quietly through Ryan's back gate. This time, I carried the aluminum bat with me. Tonight wasn't just about recon anymore. Making sure my ski mask and sunglasses were securely in place, I crept around the property. Peering through his bedroom window, I saw Ryan sound asleep. Perfect. I tested the back door and grinned grimly when I found it unlocked. The door was unlocked, which meant I didn't even have to pick the lock. What an arrogant jerk. Fine by me. This was going to be even easier than I thought. Now, I'll admit, I've always been a fan of the Dark Knight trilogy with Christian Bale, Michael Caine, and the rest of the cast. One of my favorite elements was how Batman altered his voice to intimidate his enemies. I figured I'd borrow a page from his book tonight. Fully geared up in my recon outfit, I walked quietly into Ryan Wilson's bedroom. He was still sound asleep, clearly exhausted from spending the night with my wife. That was about to change. I dropped my gym bag to the floor, pulled out the bat, and cleared my throat loudly. His eyes fluttered open, groggy at first, but the moment he saw the bat in my hands, his face twisted in panic. He didn't even have time to scream before I brought the bat down on his knee, the sickening sound of bones shattering filling the room. His mobility? Compromised. He let out an agonized scream, and I silenced it with another swing to his other knee. The bat connected with precision, reducing both kneecaps to rubble. Now his mobility was zero. I smirked under my mask and leaned closer, lowering my voice to a guttural growl. "How does it feel, lover boy? Ethan is a friend of mine, and he told me not to come after you. But me? I have my own sense of justice." To punctuate my words, I swung the bat directly into his groin. His scream reached a new level of pain as I heard the distinct crack of his pelvis breaking. "Please don't kill me," he begged, tears of pain streaming down his face. "I'll do anything you want. I've got money. I'll pay you." "I don't want your money," I snarled. "What I want is for you to never even think about Sophia Carter again. If you so much as look her way, I'll come back. And next time, you won't be so lucky. Consider this a warning." He whimpered, clutching his broken body as I continued. "And if you go to the police or try to drag Ethan into this, I will return, and you won't walk away next time. You've already ruined his marriage." To drive my point home, I swung the bat into his groin again. He was too busy writhing in pain to respond. From what I'd seen the night before, he wasn't even as well endowed as me. Not that it mattered. Soon enough, he wouldn't be competing in anything, let alone my marriage. Satisfied, I aimed one final blow, breaking his left arm just below the shoulder. He cried out again, but I ignored him, grabbing his cell phone and smashing it with the bat. I found his landline phones and destroyed those too. No calls to Sophia or anyone else. I walked calmly out the back, slipped through the gate, and climbed into the rental sedan. Stripping off my recon gear, I drove to a gas station on the other side of town. There, I disposed of the bat in a dumpster and filled the tank before driving out to a remote spot. Once there, I burned the rest of the gym bag, wiping my prints from the torch before throwing it onto the fire. It was a shame to lose those expensive shades, but they'd served their purpose. The cost was worth it. Next stop, a divorce attorney. I retained one of the best lawyers in town, laying out the details of my case. I asked her to draft papers requesting full custody of the kids and 75% of all marital assets. I made it clear there would be no alimony, and I wouldn't demand child support as long as Sophia cooperated. If she played ball, I'd keep her affair a secret from her family. I also mentioned that I would soon have recorded evidence of her infidelity. After that, I returned the rental car, thanked the staff, and jogged back to the diesel shop. I told my boss I could finish the rest of my shift, but would need to leave early to meet Sophia. He agreed, still understanding about the family crisis I had told him about earlier. On the way home, I stopped to buy a prepaid cell phone. Activating it, I used my Batman voice to call 911. I reported what had happened to Ryan Wilson, giving them his address. Then I tossed the phone into a canal that ran alongside the road. No, I didn't want Ryan dead, but I wanted him to feel the kind of pain I'd endured. Only his would last the rest of his miserable life. He took pleasure in my wife. I dismantled his world. It felt like a fair trade. When I got home, I pulled the voice recorder from my pocket, switched it on, and made a statement for future reference. The following conversation with my wife should not be taken at face value. I do not approve of her affair, now or ever, I said before turning it off and tucking it away. Before heading inside, I removed the GPS tracker and voice recorder from Sophia's car. Tossing them into my truck, I decided that phase of the operation was officially complete. I stepped inside and discreetly reactivated my pocket recorder before slipping up behind Sophia and wrapping my arms around her waist. The aroma of sizzling steaks filled the air, along with the comforting scent of green beans and mashed potatoes already prepared on the counter. "That smells amazing, baby," I said, pressing a kiss to the side of her neck. She smiled warmly, stirring the pan. "Thanks, honey. I'm so glad you're starting to accept the situation. It makes things so much easier." She turned her face up to meet mine, planting a light kiss on my lips. "About that, baby," I said, keeping my tone casual, almost conversational. "Would you really have divorced me if I didn't go along with it?" Her expression turned apologetic, though her words cut deep. "I wouldn't have wanted to, but yes. I would have done it in a heartbeat if you tried to keep me from seeing him. I'm sorry, honey. I wish it could have been different. I never wanted to threaten you. She looked at me with pleading eyes. Please believe me. I do love you. Would you really have taken the kids from me? Not let me see them? That's a bit cruel, don't you think? I asked, still keeping my tone light, as though I were resigned to her demands. She sighed heavily, her voice soft but honest. Yes, it was his idea to make it as painful as possible for you if you didn't go along with it. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I didn't mean for it to come across like that. I nodded slowly, pretending to accept her words. Well, at least I have you for the weekend. And with Mom watching the kids until Monday, I took the day off. Do you think you could spend it with me too? Her tone brightened just slightly. Sure, but Tuesday night, I'll have to meet him again. I'll be with him until Wednesday morning, then I'll come home to take care of the kids. What a stellar mother, I thought sarcastically, biting back my true feelings. Babe, I said, feigning defeat. Is there nothing I can do to get you to stop seeing him? She sighed again, her voice dripping with condescension. I'm sorry, honey. I have to see this through. Don't worry, though. I'll still make time for you and the kids whenever I can. Pure gold, I thought. Her words were perfect ammunition to have her declared an unfit mother in court. But for now, I played along. Dinner was incredible. Sophia was a fantastic cook, and I realized I'd miss her meals. After we ate, I took a shower, then took her in my arms. That night, I made love to her with a sense of purpose. I gave her everything I had, my improved stamina from the past few days of jogging and clean living making a noticeable difference. She climaxed multiple times, far more than she had in recent memory. I marked her body with hickeys on her neck, breasts, and inner thighs, staking my claim on what was rightfully mine. When we were done, she was breathless and satisfied, lying beside me with a serene look on her face. It wasn't until she went to the bathroom and saw the marks I'd left that I heard her scream. "What the hell, Ethan?" she shouted, storming back into the bedroom. "How am I supposed to see him now? He doesn't want me marked like this." Her face was a mix of shock and anger. I didn't even flinch. "Well, you're my wife, and I want you marked as mine. If he doesn't like it, that's not my problem," I said with a shrug. "You never told me not to, and you sure seemed to enjoy it while I was doing it." That shut her up. Her face softened as she sat down on the bed, taking my hand. "Ethan, that was the best we've ever had. Honestly, it was better than anything I've had with him," she admitted, her tone sincere. While I thought, she wasn't just stroking my ego. I could tell the difference between genuine pleasure and the times she'd faked it in the past. Maybe I hadn't been great in bed before, but now I had every reason to give her my best. "Sophia, I just pray it's enough to make you stop seeing him," I said, letting my voice soften. "I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. All I'm asking is that you try to see things from my perspective. You've been with this guy for over a year now, and all I want is my wife back." I let my eyes plead with her, masking the anger I felt with a carefully composed expression. "Oh, honey," she said, her voice filled with a twisted sense of affection. "I'm still your wife. I love you so much. Just give me a few more months, and this will all run its course. Then I'll be all yours again." Sophia smiled at me, and for once, it wasn't her usual condescending smirk. It was genuine, as though she believed everything was finally going her way. Little did she know, she was about to be blindsided. The next day, she acted like the woman I'd married all those years ago. She cooked, cleaned the house, and even initiated intimacy with me that night. It was almost as if she were trying to rekindle what we'd once had. I told her that I'd taken Saturday and Monday off so we could have more time together. She seemed genuinely happy, and I'll admit, I found myself enjoying her company again. But now that I'd seen her true colors, I wasn't going to let her facade lure me in. That night, I renewed the marks I'd made on her Friday evening, and this time she didn't protest at all. It felt like she was leaning into the illusion of our happy marriage. By Monday, though, everything unraveled. When I pleaded with her one last time not to go back to her lover, she ignored me, grabbing her cell phone and heading into the living room to make a call. I told her I was going to pick up the kids from my mom's house, and she waved me off, saying that was fine. I drove to Mom's and picked up my son and 2 daughters. Mom thanked me again for letting the kids stay with her, and I assured her they'd had a great time. On the way home, we stopped at Burger King for lunch. The kids were thrilled. Sure, it wasn't McDonald's, but I always thought the food tasted better anyway. As we were finishing up, my phone buzzed with Sophia's ringtone. "Hey, babe. Miss me already?" I said, chuckling as I picked up the call. "Just took the kids to BK for lunch. We're heading home now." "Ethan, what the hell is this?" she screamed into the phone, her voice shaking with rage. So she got the papers, I thought, fighting back a grin. "Oh, you must have gotten the documents," I replied, feigning innocence. "Sorry, babe. We can talk about it when I get home, okay?" "You're damn right we have something to talk about," she started, but I cut her off by ending the call and turning my phone off. Once we got home, I pulled into the garage and took the kids inside. They were all over me, and despite the situation, Sophia greeted them warmly. The kids ran to her, peppering her with questions about where she'd been. She fed them the usual lie about volunteering before admitting we'd had a special mommy and daddy weekend. "I need you kids to go play in your rooms," I said gently. "Mommy and I need to talk for a little while." Once they were out of earshot, I led Sophia down to the basement. "Okay, now the kids won't hear us," I began, my tone cold but measured. "Sophia, I'm divorcing you. I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. I've asked you repeatedly to stop the affair, and now I have your own admission of it recorded." Her mouth fell open in shock. "Double what?" she stammered, her voice cracking. "I've already sent the recording to my attorney. As you saw in the papers, I'm suing for full custody of the kids. Your neglect of our family, combined with your admission that your lover is more important to you than your own children, will come out in court. You'll likely be deemed an unfit mother." Her face paled, and she shook her head in disbelief. But I thought you were okay with it now," she exclaimed, her voice rising in incredulity. "Sophia, I realize now that I never really knew you. And you? You never knew me. Over the years, I did everything I could to make you happy. I bought you this house, your car, your jewelry, all things we couldn't even afford at times. I worked overtime to cover it all. Everything I did was for you and the kids." I paused, taking a deep breath. "I'm sorry if I failed to show you enough affection along the way, but I did love you, Sophia. Truly. Unfortunately, your affair killed that love." Her eyes welled up with tears, but I pressed on. "I gave you one last chance this morning to end it completely. I begged you to stop, and what did you do? You called him as soon as I left to pick up the kids. I'm sorry, Sophia, but this is the end." She stared at me, stunned, her lips trembling. "But I didn't mean—" I cut her off. "In the divorce decree, I've offered you fair terms. You'll see the kids on weekends, and I won't ask for child support. But if you fight me on this, I'll make sure the court knows every detail of your neglect and infidelity." Her expression crumbled, her shoulders slumping as she sat down on the edge of the couch. "You really planned this, didn't you?" she whispered. "Call it self-defense," I said coldly. "I gave you every chance, Sophia. Every single one. I offered Sophia generous visitation rights with the kids, but with one stipulation. Her time with them would either be under my supervision, Mom's or Grandpa's. The next step was one of the hardest. I had to let my family know about the impending divorce. First, I called Mom. I explained everything, from Sophia's affair to her putting her lover ahead of me and the kids. I also told her about the recording I had of Sophia's admission. Mom, bless her, agreed to babysit while I was at work. After that, I sat down with the kids and Sophia to break the news. I explained gently that Mommy and I wouldn't be living together anymore, but assured them that we'd both always be there for them. I also let them know we'd be moving in with Grandma for a while. Surprisingly, they were happy about the arrangement. Mom had plenty of space in her house since Dad passed away, and they loved spending time with her. We packed up quickly, and before I left, I told Sophia she was always welcome at Mom's house, as long as she didn't bring her boyfriend. She looked utterly defeated, and I couldn't help but feel a small sense of vindication. 2 days later, while I was at work, my phone rang. It was Sophia, and from her tone, I could tell she was fuming. "Hey, Sophia. What's up?" I answered calmly. "You son of a—" she screamed into the phone. "You nearly killed him." "Whoa. What are you talking about?" I snapped back, playing the part of the clueless ex to perfection. Don't play dumb. You know exactly who I'm talking about. You nearly killed Ryan. Her voice broke into sobs. Ryan Williams, I thought to myself. So, she'd found out about his accident. Ryan, I asked, letting confusion seep into my voice. Sophia, you're not making any sense. He said he was attacked. He doesn't know who did it, but she started, her voice trembling. Attacked? By who? I interrupted, still feigning ignorance. The only Ryan I know is Ryan Barnes, and he's standing right next to me. Ryan Barnes, my co-worker and drinking buddy, overheard this and grinned mischievously. He knew the whole story about Sophia's affair and my little visit to her lover. Trying hard not to laugh, he walked away before he gave anything away. Sophia was stunned into silence for a moment. You didn't try to kill him? She finally asked, her voice filled with disbelief. Kill who? I replied, my tone exasperated. I don't know any Ryan except for Barnes here, and the only thing likely to kill him is a heart attack from laughing too hard. Well, Ryan said he was attacked, she admitted between sobs. His balls were crushed. Oh my God. Look, if this Ryan guy is the one you've been seeing, I can't say I'm sorry to hear about it, I said honestly. But God's honest truth, I didn't have anything to do with it. Still, I'd love to buy whoever did it a beer. Did you ever think he might have seduced someone else's wife too? You can't be with him all the time, you know. The seeds of doubt were planted. You don't think he would, she began hesitantly, but I cut her off. Why not? I asked. You said yourself he was depressed after his wife died. He used that to seduce you. Who's to say he wouldn't do the same to someone else? No, it wasn't, she started to protest but stopped, clearly reconsidering everything. She was silent for a moment, and then it hit her. Oh my God, she shrieked. You're right. That jerk. Hearing those words from Sophia, who never admitted I was right, was like music to my ears. Mark this day on the calendar, Sophia, I said, laughing. The day you actually admitted I was right about something. She didn't appreciate my humor, but she also didn't fight me on the divorce. At the custody hearing, Mom testified that she could care for the kids while I worked. The judge took everything into account. Sophia's pattern of behavior, her affair with Ryan Williams, and how she'd left the kids with responsible adults to carry out her secret rendezvous. While the judge didn't declare her unfit outright, he granted me primary custody. Sophia was given secondary custody, with strict conditions. She wasn't allowed to bring Ryan or any other boyfriend around the kids. Sophia wasn't allowed to bring her lovers around the kids, which wasn't exactly ideal, but I was satisfied. Before her affair with Ryan, she'd been a good mother, and now she had a chance to prove she could be one again. The judge finalized the terms. I'd only pay child support for the time the kids spent with Sophia, and she was ordered to get a job. With her degree in accounting, she had no excuse not to. The house was sold, and we split the proceeds 50-50ths. Our joint accounts, however, were split 75-25 in my favor, thanks to my strategic early withdrawals. When Sophia tried to complain, the judge cut her off. Mrs. Carter, he said sharply, do I need to remind you that you very nearly lost all custody of your children due to your selfish actions? Now get a job. The same judge also handled my alienation of affection lawsuit against Ryan Williams. He took it seriously, and with Sophia's confession and surprisingly supportive testimony, I was awarded $500,000 in damages. When the gavel came down, I walked out of the courthouse $500,000 richer, officially divorced, and with primary custody of my kids. To celebrate, I took Angela Johnson, my attorney, out for drinks at the Silver Spur. I've been sticking to healthy habits, exercising, eating right, and cutting back on alcohol, but that night I allowed myself a beer or two. My hard work had paid off. The beer gut was gone, replaced by six-pack abs. I knew I had to stay in shape for my kids, and, let's be honest, to get back on the dating scene. Angela was stunning, her dark chocolate skin glowing under the bar lights. Over the months we'd worked together, we'd become more than just attorney and client. We'd become friends. So, what are your plans now, Ethan? Angela asked, clicking her beer bottle against mine. Get back to work and raise my kids as best as I can, I said, smiling. I found a smaller house, 4 bedrooms, 1 story, way cheaper than that mansion Sophia made me buy a few years back. The kids love it, and it's closer to work. Are you all settled in? She asked. Yeah, closed on the house a few weeks ago. It's perfect for us, I said. And what about you? You took on my case knowing I might lose a lot. Why'd you do it? She smiled knowingly. Because I've been divorced for 4 years. My ex cheated on me, and I can't stand cheaters. That's why I gave you a hefty discount. I chuckled. Good, because I can't stand them either. Angela leaned closer, her smile widening. Since we're all paid up, do you mind if I fire you as a client? Her question caught me off guard. Why would you do that? I asked, genuinely puzzled. Because I don't date clients, she said with a playful shrug. I grinned. Well then, consider me fired. Would you like to go to dinner? No, she replied with a sly smile. I want you to come to my place so I can cook for you. Fast forward 6 months, and Angela and I are still together. I've never been happier. Despite being a high-powered divorce attorney, she's the opposite of high maintenance, especially compared to Sophia. Angela loves me, adores my kids, and even dotes on them. The kids have started calling her Mommy Angie, which we both find adorable. Sophia, surprisingly, often joins us for dinner when she takes the kids for the weekend. She's doing better these days. Her doctor diagnosed her with hormonal imbalances, and the supplements seem to have evened her out. She's got a steady accounting job now and makes decent money. As for me, I've been promoted to supervisor at the diesel shop. I now make as much in 40 hours as I used to in 60, giving me more time for my kids and Angela. Life is good. As for Ryan Williams, he never recovered. Penniless and alone, he burned through his late wife's insurance money on medical bills, court fees, and my alienation of affection settlement. To hell with him. Sophia, for her part, blames herself for everything. She doesn't date and claims she's still in love with me. But that's her burden to bear. I'm not about to console her. It's not my problem anymore. Do I still feel a little bitter? Sure, but Angela has helped me move past most of it. With her by my side, life is pretty damn good. Thanks for watching this gripping story of betrayal and unexpected justice. What do you think about how Ethan handled the situation? Would you have done the same or taken a different approach? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life drama stories. See you in the next video.